So one of my favorite books, one that I would often read with Jessica at bedtime, is the children's story called Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. And it tells the story of two little souls having a conversation before they embark on their next journey of life on Earth. And soul number one decides that he wants to be one who knows love through forgiveness this time around. So in order to be able to experience that, soul number two kindly volunteers that they will provide some sort of experience that will necessitate forgiveness for soul number one. But soul number two is a little trepidatious about how this is going to be, being the one who causes something that requires forgiveness. And so he says wistfully to soul number one as they were getting ready to go, just please remember who I really am. And the greatest gift that we can give to others, and very honestly to ourselves, is to remember who we truly are. Forgiveness and compassion, as we explored it last week, are powerful tools that can support us in remembering who we and others truly are. To truly heal and uncover the light of our soul, we also have to let go of the false beliefs about ourselves, what is often termed our shadows, that we took on when we didn't know any better as young people, as very young children, and even as teenagers. Because as long as we're experiencing the world through the belief that I'm not worthy, I'm unlovable, I'm alone, I'm bad, I'm unsafe, I'm broken, I'm powerless, the list, we've created as human beings a pretty extensive list of the things that we falsely believe we are. We will have to experience and have those experiences that necessitate more forgiveness and compassion. We'll get to practice it a lot. Shadow work, like the quantum living process that was developed by Gary and Jane Simmons and Rima Bonario, include a process of using difficult and uncomfortable, but not necessarily deeply traumatic events, but just those irritations, those upsets that we go through oftentimes in our day. And we use these events that are happening to us in this moment to guide us back to try and discover what those limiting beliefs that we may have taken on when we were younger. We look back to the earliest memory that we have of feeling that way. And then as we can begin to understand when and how we took those on, we can have a process in which to heal them, in which to educate them, in which to take on an adult version of our understanding of who we are and how we operate and the truth that we have been created from. In her book, You Can't Sleep Through Your Awakening, which we've been studying and using as our guide in this series, Jane shares how she used this process and her story, and I think you'll find this to be true too, resonated with me as something that I've often experienced, and it reminded me of something that happened not too many months ago and the way I use these tools to work through it. So this past June, I attended the annual Unity Conference, and this is only the second time I've attended in more than a decade. And what should have been, and at times there were moments that it was, a very joyful and deeply connecting experience, because after all, these are my people. These are the people that I, share very similar experiences and challenges and joys with. I often found myself that week kind of feeling disconnected and isolated in the midst of this sea of people. And on my drive home, I decided to kind of just be curious about that. I wonder what was going on with me that I was having this kind of experience. Jane Simmons describes it as a search and rescue mission to see exactly what was going on underneath this. So I started to think about my past and try and go back to the earliest memories. I'd certainly had these kinds of experiences when I was first starting out in ministry, not quite feeling worthy enough, not feeling connected, not feeling a part of this group of people who seem to have these amazing lives and experiences. And but where could I go back even earlier? Thinking about those times where I felt like an outsider and I didn't belong. And I'll tell you, for most people, just go back to your teenage years and you'll find something, because that's where a lot of this takes place. And I landed on a memory of my freshman year in high school, and it was about a boy that I really liked. And my best friend and I would scope him out in between classes in the hallway. And one day, my best friend came to me and said that another mutual friend had set her up with this boy because she was dating one of his friends, and that now they were going to start dating. Sorry. And I remembered feeling like such an outsider. Now they were going on these double dates, and I was outside of that in crowd and really feeling alone. And the message that I took on was that I was unlovable and I was not worthy because he had picked somebody else. And I could see how often those beliefs showed up throughout my teenage years and even on into my adult life. And I understood, because I've been working with this a while, that before I could see this experience through my adult perspective, through my more spiritually mature perspective, I had to let this particular memory go. I didn't let the experience go, but I let the memory of what it means, what I made it to mean, go. And so I went through this process and I wasn't driving at this time. I don't recommend you do this while you're driving. But once I identified it, when I got home, I imagined that I gathered up that and put it into a balloon and then released it and let it slowly drift away. And in that place, I imagined filling up that space with love. I have so many channels of love flowing into my life, so I just let that take up the space that had been held by those beliefs, both in my mind and in my heart. And from this new perspective, I could see more clearly that my best friend and her other friend that I was the most mad at for doing this were not really against me. This wasn't something that they were doing to me. They were simply acting out of their own need to feel loved, to feel worthy, or whatever those beliefs were that they had about themselves. And I could see pretty clearly that it wasn't that this boy didn't find me worthy of love, because he didn't even really know me. You know, this is those teenage things where I don't even know if we'd had a conversation ever, but he was cute and I liked him. And I also realized, and this was the most difficult memory that came back to me, that I had acted in a similar way many years later. I had agreed to go out with a man who had at least a few times dated my very good friend once he expressed an interest in me, and had to tell her that now this guy and I were going to be going out. In fact, I realized that I had made many unloving choices in my dating life, trying to fill that need to be worthy, to feel loved. And then in my now awakened, spiritually, at least more mature mind, I was filled with gratitude that I now know that I don't have to even depend on someone out there to fill those needs for me. I have the power and the ability to feel worthy and loved, I can fill those needs for myself. And I have then the power to make more loving choices. I used a technique to sort of begin to make that more real in my inner life by something that renowned author Louise Hay suggested, and it was doing what is often termed in the realm of psycho-spiritual work, mirror work. So it's getting up in the morning, I'd look in the mirror and I'd tell myself I was worthy, and I would tell myself I was completely loved. And, as in doing all new things, it felt very awkward and a little weird and sometimes silly. And at other times, that critic voice was about just as loud as the voice that I was speaking to the reflection I was seeing in the mirror. But my intent was, and the intent of doing this work, was to interact with my image, myself, with the same compassion, the same understanding, the same joy that I would with my young grandchild. And to remind myself, well, how would I treat my granddaughter if she came and said, nobody loves me, or I'm not worthy, or I'm bad, or I'm whatever, any of those. I would not look at her with a critical eye and say, yeah, that's. You would have compassion for what they were feeling. You would want to, give them love and remind them how much they were loved. And very slowly, I did this over several weeks, I began to have that felt feeling of it when I was doing it. I began to see more and more often, yes, I am. I'm worthy simply because I'm breathing. I'm worthy and loved simply because that is the nature, the energy from which I've been created, and I'm here to express. And then I also, because taking authentic action is part of the thing that can let our subconscious and conscious mind get it at a deeper level, went back to this friend who I'm still friends with and shared my regrets for what had happened 30 plus, maybe 36, 37 years ago, and offered my apologies for any pain that I may have caused her as a result of that. Each time we do it, each time we become awakened to it and are willing to go through a process that allows it to be healed, whatever way is right for us, because it's going to be slightly different for everybody. We now can begin to own in greater and greater ways who it is that we've truly come here to be, and to make choices based on that. So our invitation this morning as we go into our meditation is just to begin to do a little practice of that, to begin to see if there's something that might be irritating or upsetting that has happened in recent days, and just go back to see what our earliest memory was of feeling that way, what we believed about either the other person in our judgment or ourselves, and then see when that first started with us. And then later, you can choose how you might want to release it and how you might want to begin to fill that need to feel a sense of wholeness and love and worthiness and compassion for yourself. So if you would be willing, we're going to just get comfortable right where we are. You can close your eyes or perhaps just soften your gaze so that you can bring your attention inward. Becoming aware of your breath as it naturally and without any conscious thought breathes in and out of your body. As you are consciously aware and pay attention to that breath, you bring your mind and your heart into this present moment. The present moment where the fullness of that which we call God exists. The present moment in which we can understand and make different choices. And as you just allow that thinking part of you to slowly sink down into your heart, so that your thinking and your feeling become centered in this place of wholeness. I just invite you to bring to mind or allow Spirit to bring into your awareness a recent event in which you found yourself being upset or irritated or judging harshly someone else. It can be just a small thing of somebody cutting you off in traffic and upsetting you, or bringing up those feelings of anger. And then go back as far as you can in your memory bank to see the earliest memory that you can find where you felt those same feelings of upset or anger or pain, hurt. Just allow them to be revealed in the wisdom of your own heart. And ask for this experience to reveal what limiting belief you might have taken on as a result of that experience. What I am statement did you conclude about yourself based on how people treated you or what they said? Have compassion for that young person and for what they had to go through and what they may have taken on as a result of that experience. Send them love. And then stand in the awareness, in the spiritual truth that you know now that you have been created in the very essence and energy of God, which is love in all of its facets. This DNA is the essence of who you truly are, regardless of anything you may have ever said or done or believed. It is the unchanging part. Some might call it the soul. And in that awareness, release this old belief that you had taken on when you didn't understand this truth of who you are. Some people let it go in the waves and see it being washed away, or releasing it in something like a balloon. And then with this open heart and open mind, allow that space to be filled with a statement of truth, the truth of who you are. And in that truth, the very energy, the very love of God floods in to fill it. And then finally, see if there's an idea that rises up into your awareness of how you, as this powerful child of God, that has everything, every quality of that God within it, how can you meet the need that wasn't met in those young days? How can you be the one to give to that young person that was you in a way that feels, that embodies that sense of the truth? And as this day and the days unfold, just continue to look for, as you stay awake, ways in which you're being invited to step into the truth. And how, as you do that, it not only changes the way that you see and understand and interact with yourself, but allows you to bring that light and that love out into the world. And as you begin to bring your awareness back to this time and space, the sounds in the room, this body that allows you to walk through this journey, give thanks. Let that feeling of gratitude overflow. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. You know, last week at the end of the talk, I said, you know, we can couch this in a way that our egos can understand that it's in my best interest to do this. We talked about forgiveness last week, and yes, we can maybe be magnanimous to forgive someone else, but the real person who benefits, the real prisoner, as I said, that it sets free is ourselves. I like to say, you know, we're doing this, I'm doing this for us. It's not about them. And the same, I think, is true for judgment, the way we judge ourselves and judge others. We don't want to move out of those judgments because it's better for someone else. We do it because it brings peace for us. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, "Do not judge others, and you will not be judged. For you will be treated as you treat others." Another way to understand this is that what we put out returns to us. In the East, they call this karma. And it's true whether we're judging someone or something out there, or whether that criticism and judgment is directed within. And we're oftentimes far more critical and harsh with ourselves than we would ever be with somebody else. And as we're discovering, when we judge another person, we are not defining them. We are defining ourselves. And it's often a good place, a good starting point to get curious and go, I wonder what's underneath all of that. So the question we can ask ourselves as we're navigating through all the daily challenges of life is, what do I want to send out and have returned to me? Inner peace begins the moment you choose not to allow another person or event to control your emotions. It grows as we understand that we all carry these limited beliefs, and that they influence how we show up in the world. And ultimately, to really know and to begin to take dominion over this power that we have to change them, revealing ultimately who we truly are. You know, the last line of The Little Soul in the Sun is this, and it helps us when we're in the middle of those judgments. Remember, I have sent you nothing but angels. May that awareness fill you with the peace that passes all understanding. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this community. It is through your gifts that we are able to do all that we do here and do it with ease and with grace, and we're very grateful for that. In just a moment, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row, and you can share your gift in the large basket and then receive an affirmation to support you this week. And even if it's not your Sunday to share, if you're able, we'd love for you to have that felt experience of being in the flow of giving and receiving. You can put a card in to signify how you give online, or simply just hold your hand over the basket and add your energy of abundance to the flow that happens within this community. We are so grateful for all that we receive and the ways in which we share that with the community, because we also tithe 10% of all that we receive back out into various organizations, including both Unity and others local within our community. So it's a blessing to be able to do that too, and make a positive difference in the world around us. So let us take what we offer into our hands, into our hearts, in that awareness that there is an unlimited flow of abundance that is ours to tap into as we join and give thanks and bless what we offer today. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God. And so as we go into this week, remembering that God has sent us nothing but angels, we go knowing our prayer for protection. We're going to do it as call and response. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a great week, everyone.